Alright, are we on? Yeah, we on. Alright, shalom, shalom. This is Yahutsadeqnu Beyt Dawid. Please excuse the scar on my nose. It's chopping wood, and a piece of wood flew and hit me in the face. But that's how it is when you live in the ancient past. Sometimes it just happens. Suck it up and keep going. So, today what I want to talk about is a very, very serious subject. I mean, I don't know, some people be like, man, this brother against everything. What does this brother like? Well, I'm against the world. By world, I mean paganism, idolatry, witchcraft, sorcery, divination, harlotry, whoredoms, all the filth of this world. And if you really pay attention, a lot of the things that are in this world are full of nothing but sorcery and paganism and idolatry. Okay? And so, see so? Hold on one moment, okay. I advise you all to be careful about, you know, whether you're wearing glasses or got you doing live streams and you got places, pictures of places. You know, I'm gonna put my glasses on because of where I am. Pictures of places in your eye or in your glasses, because some people who are really skilled at it can figure out where people are. Guy in Japan found this Japanese pop star found her where she lived by one of her social media posts, by looking at her iris and studying everything in her iris. So if you see me with my glasses off or looking away from the camera, that's the reason why. Okay, so now we enter in the city, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, so what I want you to know is this. I want to talk about martial arts today. And I'm going to give my personal testimony. I got a lot of testimonies because I've been through a lot of stuff. I grew up in a very rough place. Went through a lot of rough things. In my childhood. Experienced at least three different divorces by people who were older than me that I lived with. Moved around like a foster child. But I've experienced a lot of things in my life. So you're going to hear me talk about a lot of different testimonies. Now, I'm going to remind you, the scripture says they overcame by the word of the testimony and by the belief in Yahushua, Hamashiach, and by the blood of the Lamb. Okay, that's how we overcome. So I'm going to give the word of my testimony, because the word of my testimony is going to help y'all get over things. Okay, and so one thing I want to definitely talk about is martial arts. Now you say, well, what do you have against martial arts? Why would you call it pagan, nothing but just pagan, filthy idolatry? Because that's what it is. It's pagan, filthy idolatry. And I can tell you, because I got a lot of experience in it. Now, I used to not say anything about these things, especially online, especially when it comes to social media. I give very limited amounts of information. And I wouldn't show my face or anything like that. And I always would, stay hidden for a reason. And I'll explain that why later. And so I'm going to tell my story. My parents divorced early. There was a guy that came in my mother's life. I was only like 3 when they divorced, 3 or 4. And a guy came in my mother's life. He did a martial art. And I was already into martial arts. Because, when you grow up in Babylon, children, they put children before these wicked televisions, which I'm going to tell you, television of the evil one too. I know, this man is saying everything of the evil one. Yes, it is. If you can look up where a bunch of Satanists have said that the TV is the devil's altar. And the altar is a place where you make sacrifices and get an offering. So you offering up your time, your entertainment, your love, your passion, your zeal, your affection, your everything, all your desires upon a screen, hoping for a character that's an antichrist, or for the man who's going to save the day, which is an antichrist, or for a person that that's your favorite television character. You're throwing your adoration upon this. Okay? You're throwing your adoration upon this on the television screen. Okay, so, you know, they pump children up with all these wicked television shows. And I got to tell you that, you know, they want to say, get them while they're young. If you ever heard that phrase, get them while they're young, that's the point. The devil wants to get the children while they're young. And so TV is one of the primary ways that he seeks to get children while they're young. Another way, if you ever heard of Aaron Russo, is to get... I'll speak on that another time. I was just stopped. I'm going to speak on that on another time. That's a whole other subject. I'll say, okay, so looking at television, children are pumped up with stuff like teenage... When I was younger. Listen to me. When I was younger, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sonic the Hedgehog, Power Rangers, and all these other crazy cartoons like Earthworm Jim, all this wicked stuff, okay? All this wicked stuff that people, they pump children up with, you know. And among all the different other types of cartoons, and everybody knows about the different cartoons that were there, but those are some of the cartoons that influenced. So when this person came in my life, you know, you're already exposed to violence and multiple types of martial arts, which extend from Asia. And if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everything is wrong about that. Okay, the term teenager and the history behind it, which I'm not going to go to. Mutant, which deals with either using chemicals to change somebody around, genetic manipulation, witchcraft, or fallen angel DNA to try to morph something, all of the above. Ninja, dealing with the pagan martial arts or martial sciences, should I say more specifically, of Japan. And a turtle, okay? Turtle is a type of armored serpent. Let's be honest about it. It's an armored reptile that carries around his house with it like a tank. Now, normally nothing's wrong with serpents. Normally there's nothing wrong with turtles. But turtles there can be a negative light to turtles. A lot is wrong with serpents. Serpents are that's spoken against in the scriptures. However, you know, this person comes in a child's life, and then I'm speaking in a different person. And he introduces ninjutsu to me, okay? And not only that, but then we figure out later that he was doing voodoo. And later on, this person was rid from my life. However, as a child, the connection that had already developed because my parents had divorced had sort of forged a strong bond between him and I that I had to break later on. And so when it was time for him to go, you know, there was already things like we go places and like go to a place where there was nothing but water, and he'd have me balance on a pipe, you know, that was in the water, and it was like, you know, my vivid imagination as a child, I was like, oh, there could be lungfish in the water, because I liked science when I was younger, and so even at that age, and I still remember. But, you know, I learned how to balance. And then such a strong relationship had formed. By that point, it was like when he left, it was like somebody else was leading. We both cried and he left. But my mother eventually told me that he was doing voodoo. And that's why she broke up with him. And that was good. But all sorts of other things were exposed. Like island stuff that was pagan. Because he was from the islands. Okay? And so why am I saying this? You got to be careful about who you bring around your children, your grandchildren, your friends' children. You got to be careful about who you introduce to your children and let be around your children. And you got to keep tight monitoring, not to disrespect people, but to have a respectful relationship. Like, look, I respect you. I know you respect me. This is a part of our respect. I have a certain rules for my children to make sure I keep them safe. I cannot just trust somebody totally around my children until the Most High proves them to me that is right. Okay? So all these different things were getting exposed, okay? And I'm not going to tell you everything, but all kinds of things that were pagan and that were dealing with island witchcraft and all that stuff, it was exposed, okay, to me as a child. So years pass, and I kind of keep with it, you know. But then I lose some of it. I'm thinking about memories of things that used to happen back then. Okay, and so I left it for a while. Then I was reintroduced to it by my dad when I went to go live with him for a time, because I moved around like foster child. Okay, and then leaving him, I left it a while alone again. I mean, I'm not going to say left it alone, but I was not having exposure from anybody else. But then, what happens is when I became a teenager and got into, junior high, that's when I started to re-delve into martial arts. And this when the Most High was trying to get my attention, but because nobody was teaching me, nobody was telling me, nobody was instructing me and teaching me scripture and showing me that these things I shouldn't mess with, I didn't see it. Nobody was teaching me scripture, I didn't see it. And somebody should have been teaching me. I'm telling you this because teach your children the scripture. The scripture says when you rise up, when you lay down, and it says impress the scripture diligently upon your children. When you rise up, when you lay down, when you're walking in the way, when you're coming in, when you're going out, you got to speak the word of the scripture. Okay, and so nobody was telling me this. So when I started getting into martial arts, I started studying several martial arts. Also playing video games, which they would start making more realistic. And I was trying to learn from whatever I could, because I didn't have anybody to teach me anything. So I was just trying to learn whatever. And so learning boxing, getting books on karate, getting books on Jeet Kune Do, the Bruce Lee style, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, which that's a problem right here. Listen to it, the Tao, or the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Okay, this is when it starts to get interesting. So I bump into somebody who happens to be, related to friends of our family, and he becomes my sparring partner. He's in the Tai Chi, and I was doing, studying boxing, karate, Jeet Kune Do, and studying a little. It's interested in Kung Fu and some of the principles behind it. And so we start to spar, and we like everything. Then anime comes in. Okay, everything's about anime and manga and all these different martial arts. And I say that because those are martial arts inspirators to young children, and they're full of paganism, demonization, and witchcraft, sorcery, all kinds of wicked things, transhumanism. You need to be extremely careful for these things. And I'm saving a lot of details, but I'm about to get into it. And so we started getting into that more, and a lot of things like LUST are in those types of things. A lot of it in anime and manga. So all these things are children being exposed and drawn into this by this super HERO theme with a lot of violence and fighting that draws children in and is wicked, and then it exposes them to other things like demonization, sorcery, witchcraft, and LUST. Okay, all through martial arts. And watching them and the video games are the same thing. If there are any females, they're always inappropriate to a significant degree, especially in fighting games. I don't even have to name certain games. There are games out there. Okay, think fighting games. If you ever seen one, you probably know what I'm talking about. And all these things have to expose children to martial arts too. Then what happens is I get involved in me and my sparring partner, who was at that time one of my close friends at that time. We get into martial arts programs related to our school, like Taekwondo, dealing with the military program dealing with our school. Okay, and we rose to the ranks and became 2 of the top 3 students in the class, whether it was band or whatever. Okay, we rose to the ranks and became 2 of the 3 top students in the class. One of the other 3 students went to jail, and so then it was just me to him, the top 2 students in the class. And so the Marines started coming after me, trying to basically hunt me down, trying to get me to recruit. Like tearing up my phone, because we were in competitions, tearing up my phone, coming singling out my class out of all the classes in the school and stuff like that. And so what happened is a natural disaster happened. I wind up, I'll tell you, Katrina. I wind up going from Georgia to California. I went to California and I got involved in a boxing program. I know that's telling a lot about my business on the internet. Okay, I got involved in the school's boxing program, and I started learning boxing. And we did things like run 3 miles a day, and do our workouts first. Run 3 miles a day. Go in, do our combinations. Work the speed bag. Work the heavy bag. Spar, stuff like that. Okay, and the Most High always kept me from certain portions of these programs. Okay, and here's where it starts to get bad, because anime was already exposing us to, and manga was already exposing us to so many concepts, but the concept of martial arts combined with that had us focus on it and drawn toward those things, because and then exposes to a lot of other things. And you have to understand that young males or they have a drive to want to be active and want to protect and want to learn how to defend themselves and their families. So these things are magnets. It's bait. It's attraction. So don't let your children watch anime and manga. I'm telling you, none of these cartoons, TV period. Have them find some constructive to do. Okay? Be careful for certain books. Have them do something constructive. So what happens is I go to college and I take a college course and Shaolin Kung Fu. Now, here's where it starts getting really bad. It was already bad before, and I'm going to tell you why. And this is the point I need to get to tell you why it's so bad. Because when you study where Shaolin Kung Fu come from, okay, Little Forest or whatever, in China, what happened is they had these monks, these BHUDDHA, or should I say BHUDDIST monks, okay, that fat pagan Asian idiot, okay, the jolly looking happy one, okay, they had this Indian man whose name I'm not going to say or spell, who came from India, and to visit China to teach these people something. And then he noticed that all his monks were sickly. Now all this is wickedness, okay, all this is idolatry. He came to teach these people something. And he did was he noticed all of them were sickly. So what he did was he invented exercises, pagan exercises that he was I guess he was gaining his inspiration from Hindu idols or evil spirits. And he taught them exercises. I believe it was 13 or so exercises. And from that they derived Shaolin Kung Fu to hone their mind, body, and spirits and make them one, and to basically do a formulate of martial arts to keep their bodies healthy and be coordinated and well organized, and to keep their spirits well in tone. And in it it was embedded Eastern mysticism, because he taught them how to meditate. And in those meditations, they tell a person to empty themselves. Here's one of his severe problems: to empty themselves to their no-minded, to there's no mind in them. And by this, they empty themselves, and they become a hollow shell for evil spirits. And this gets to the point because there's nothing there anymore. Now it's just a wicked spirit in it. This amongst all these excellent things and taught them Eastern mysticism, eventually was spread through the rest of China and became Kung Fu, Gung Fu, Pakwa, all these other different things like that. Tai Chi, which all sorts of other types of martial arts. There's a movie like Ip Man, the martial art that he does. That all that is derived from this. Okay. Then it eventually. Okay, I'm showing you all these things. All these influence, all these kung fu movies. Where they're doing all these different styles, and tiger and dragon and all these different styles. Stay away from it. Crane, eagle. You need to stay away from that. It's all pagan in its origin. It was all derived from pagan or exercises. Stay away from it. Then it eventually spread to places like Vietnam. Vietnam was conquered by China for 1,000 years, but they fought for their independence and got out. So Korea was controlled by China for a while, and it got to Korea. And from Korea, they made Taekwondo, Do or Do. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Kuk Sul Wan, and Raikkondo, all these other things. Okay. And so from there, it got to Japan. And I studied many of these things. And it's wickedness. I'm telling you, stay away from it. Then they got to Japan, and from Japan, the Kung Fu was eventually got to Japan in a different form, because different levels of society would practice it in different ways, and each time somebody would get to a part in society, a spirit would appear to them and teach them things, and people would tell you. Some people would kind of tell you this stuff, or their teachers would be influenced by evil spirits. Okay, like Tai Chi is a big one, because Tai Chi talks about two types of energies, the passive and active, and it's really demonic spirits. It's wickedness that is, and it being a person will be taught by a spirit to utilize this stuff, and it's real. Tai Chi, like Qigong, is real. It's not a joke. People using Chi and all that stuff is not. It's not fake. It's real, and it's wicked, and it is nothing but sorcery. Okay. Sorcery is witchcraft over objects, okay? Manipulation of objects, okay? That's manipulation of the body to produce life energy outside of the body, but it's wickedness. It's not really that. It's power of evil spirits, okay? And that stuff eventually got to Japan and formed stuff like karate, like open hand fighting, okay? And Shotokan karate, and Shorin-ryu, Kempo, double fist Kempo, all the way to Bushido, which is the samurai art, which I studied to some degree. Okay, and then eventually to start things like Bushido eventually became Jujutsu and Judo, and numerous other arts. Okay, and then then also ninjutsu. Okay, which developed from ninpo, which is basically the manipulation of one's emotions to be like a tool. Okay? I'm telling y'all these details so y'all know I'm not just making these things up off the top of my head, that I do know what I'm talking about. And that to tell you properly my testimony, so you know I'm not just making stuff up. I know what I'm talking about. I really did study these things, and I'm going to tell you first and foremost from experience, these things are wicked. So before you just say, oh, this man is condemning everything. Hold on one moment. Okay, yeah. Okay, so before you think that, you know, I'm just making things up off the top of my head, or I have no good reason to say these things are pagan. Okay, I'm telling you straight up that these things are totally pagan, because I know from experience. Okay, and so the dangers of ninjutsu are serious, as well as Bushido. Many people think that shinobi is what they call ninjas. Okay, and I don't need to go into the name shinobi and what it actually means, and but many people think that they are the ones that's only wicked. Some people think they're wicked, and some people don't understand that they're wicked, but they are. Some people think that shinobi are the only ones that are wicked, but it's not just shinobi, it's also samurai, okay? And samurai are wicked because samurai do witchcraft just like ninja do. They call the witchcraft kuji-in, or should I say that those are the hand symbols, but the witchcraft is itself called kuji-kiri, okay? And I'm telling you, it pervades both the samurai and the ninja. Both the samurai and the ninja are pervaded by witchcraft. It's not just the ninja. The samurai chooses to do it as in the open, bold and brazen, out in the field without armor, not hiding, but out in the open. But the ninja chooses to do it in the dark, hidden. That's the only difference. They playing good cop and bad cop, but they both perform it. They both do kuji-kiri, which is basically witchcraft with either with the hands or drawing with the hand symbols by the characters kanji on paper, which is wickedness. It's total wickedness. Okay, and so now, son, all this stuff is wickedness. We don't do this stuff. Okay, all right. Now be silent. So all right. So you get deeper into ninjutsu, you realize that ninja shinobi were hired assassins, which is wickedness, killing people for money. That's wicked. Hitmen, they were basically hitmen, okay? And the deeper you delve into this stuff, they deal with chakras just like the Hindus do. Instead of 7, there's 5. Okay, depending on which system you're studying. I'm telling you this stuff that is all of this is Eastern mysticism. All of it is Eastern mysticism. Okay. So I'm just telling you that to help you understand that I really have studied this stuff, and I do know what I'm talking about. And a lot of this stuff is not fake at all. People think it's just stuff you see on TV, like people walking on paper, or all that wicked stuff, or pushing people with force, or putting out candles. No, it's real. People can do it. And I have to make a confession, which I'm not going to. I want to make a testimony, but I'm aware because one of my children is awake in the car. I spell it IDIDIT. Okay, that particular thing, the usage of CHI. Okay, and I'm repenting of that. And so, and the gateway to that was Tai Chi. So you got to be careful, because certain martial arts open gateways to other martial arts. Okay. Or certain martial arts open gateways to particular types of things that are pagan and wicked. Okay, and we don't want nothing to do with them. And I repent of those things totally. Okay, and so the Most High had to open my eyes and show me. He was trying to show me, like, look, son, this is pagan, but for some reason I wasn't noticing. Okay, some people and I was serving the Most High. I was keeping the Sabbath, doing all that stuff. Okay, but we got to realize you can have partial blindness. When sheep they wool grow, they need to be sheared. I'm a shepherd, okay? And there's certain breeds of sheep that get wool blindness. What that means is that the wool grows so far over their face that the wool covers their eyes. Or the wool on their face grows and it starts to cover their eyes. And they can see partially in some areas, but some areas they can't. It's called wool blindness until they're completely blind. Some of y'all are blind in some areas of your life. In other areas of your life, y'all not blind. What you need to do is have the Most High shear your eyes. Shear your eyes and peel whatever the enemy put on your eyes off so that you can see clearly. And open your ears, shear around your ears. And then basically clear the wax out your ears so that whatever area of your life that you're not hearing him in, that you can hear him. Okay? Because this is how I got caught up and nobody told me. And I had to suffer for this stuff and nobody told me. Okay? Nobody told me it was wrong. And I'm telling y'all it's wrong. Do not put your child in karate. Do not put your child, and because all of it deals with meditation and breathing techniques and building up of chi. Every single martial art I study has everything to do with meditation, whether it's 2 minutes or whether it's 2 hours or shorter or longer, depending on whether it's kung fu, karate, or whatever, and dealing with breathing techniques and shouts to focus that energy out through the hand, which is dealing with chi. Don't have anything to do with it. It's wicked. Don't put your children in it. If your children in it, pull them out. Because it's paganism, it's witchcraft. You are actually involving your child in a pagan religion. Because if you study Kung Fu, you study karate, you study Shorin-ryu, Shotokan, Taekwondo, Kuksu Wan, Raekwondo, Huareng Do, or whatever, all those different styles, that one I'm not very familiar with. But all them other styles, they're all pagan. And these are just Asian martial arts. I haven't gotten to Western and African martial arts yet. And I study all of these to some degree. Okay? I'm not going to tell you why I was studying these things or what I had planned out, but the Most High told me, I'm going to say basically he communicated to me through my heart by teaching me and leading me, guiding me, that was something I needed to abandon that was wrong. He needs to use me and lead me and guide me and show me what his plans are, and I need to get in line with his plans. Okay? So all of these martial arts have their philosophical and religious roots in some kind of paganism, whether it's Taoism or Taoism, whatever you that's what that martial arts symbol of the circle with the black side and the white side with the white dot and the black dot in either side, that's dealing with Taoism. That is a pagan religion. If your child got some martial arts uniforms that got some that symbol on it, take it off and rip it up and burn it. There are demons attached to that. I'm saying, because I haven't got to that part yet. There are demons associated with these things. Take that stuff, rip it up, and burn it. Okay? that martial arts, take it up, rip it up, and burn it. I don't say certain things because the Torah says do not speak of their names, or do not speak certain things, okay? Because certain things are invocations, so I'm not saying certain things. But if you got that little martial arts symbol with the circle, they got the black side and the white side, and a little white dot and the black side, and a little black dot and the white side, rip that and burn it. Okay, what you also got to understand is in many martial arts classes, especially in Japanese martial arts, in order to participate in the class, the students must bow before the master. Okay? Now that you got your children, if your children are in this, or if you're in it, you're confessing that somebody else is your master and not Yahushua. And like if you take Aikido, which is another Japanese style, or Hapkido, which is Korean, which are similar, which I've studied both, okay? I know, so many, right? This is wicked. You don't need to have nothing to do with them. In Aikido, they have a little picture of the founder of the style, okay? A little picture of the founder of the style, and the people bow before the picture. The master or the founder of that style has become an idol. And when I went to a couple of them, I refused to bow before his picture. Like, I'm not bowing before that picture. They said, but that's the master, that's the founder of the... I'm not bowing before him. I felt totally uncomfortable. But this is the thing that people don't get. Just because you don't bow before him doesn't mean you're safe. You shouldn't have nothing to do with it, because you don't know if these people got these things through demonic inspiration. I'm going to tell you, almost every single one of them did, either indirectly or directly. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. Either directly or indirectly, these people, either directly or indirectly, these people have received demonic influence, okay, for these martial arts, okay, because one, they're getting these inspirations, the thought, the philosophy, the way of life, the way of thinking, they're getting it from their pagan religions, and martial arts takes over all of a person's life. If they want to be skilled at it, let me tell you, you got to train your mind. People think about violence all the time, about what would you do in this scenario, what would you do in that scenario. If this happened, what would you do? If that happened, what would you do? Which technique would you use? How would you do this? How would you do that? Okay? People think about these things constantly. How would you do this? How would you do that? How would you do? And then they train their body in their reactions. You got to react instantly. It's training, instant reaction. So you train yourself so that it's like, this is not just second natural. It becomes you. It becomes you. It coats all your mind, your spirit, and your body. Martial arts takes over your mind, your body, and your spirit. Because you train your spirit to be violent. And you train your spirit to do things in a way to where you have to respond and always be about violence, always be ready for violence. And your mind is always thinking and preparing. And then you get yourself to where it's automatic. Everything is automatic. It's automatic. And your body is trained and honed to do violence at all times. Whenever you need to do violence, you always got to be ready. Okay? Until you start always thinking about it. Then you start wanting to get better and get better. Then it starts to be, with some people, it can be a pride thing. To where you have honed your mind and your body so much that you like, I did this. I built myself up. I've achieved something. I become a master. I'm a grandmaster. I'm a Dan. I got some people, whether they have a black belt or they have a Dan, whether the first Dan all the way through 9th Dan or whatever their style goes through 10th Dan. Okay? Whether they how far they have actually gotten. Okay? And so people pride themselves of becoming master, and then it leads you into, you got to be careful for Western physical fitness. Why? You're like, oh man, Western physical fitness, how could that be pagan? Because it's worship of body, and it comes from the Greek worship of the body, which comes from gymnasiums, the Greek gymnasiums and the Roman Colosseums, and honing the physical bodies to emulate the Greek and Roman idols who were noted for their perfect bodies, which were really, these things were fallen angels. Let's be honest about it. And in their making, they were perfect. And so their followers emulate them and try to hone their bodies and hone them and work them out to be perfect. This is bodybuilding. fitness and bodybuilding, okay? Western fitness. Notice I say Western fitness. There's nothing wrong with being in shape, okay? There's nothing wrong with being strong and mighty. We have Judah, Samson, Dawid, okay? Nothing's wrong with being in shape, being mighty and strong for the Most High. That being your muscles are well knit together. But it's when you're straining your body, you go and start looking in the mirror, you start worshiping your body. You don't realize you're idolizing your body. You're looking, I got a little bit on my stomach now, and I'm gonna say I'm glad about that. I got a little bit, not a lot, but I got a little bit on my stomach now. And I'm glad about that, because I used to be, I gotta have a 6-pack, gotta have an 8-pack. I can't have no fat, okay? My muscles have to be a certain size, okay? Not you always training, trying to get bigger, and then I realized that you don't want to be too big doing martial arts, because if you're too big, you won't be fast. And if your muscles are too hard, you won't move fast. So I started moving around there. Everything with my body was centered around this, rather than making my body fully dedicate my body as a temple to the Most High. Now there's a difference between martial arts and the warfare of the Most High, and I'm getting to that, because a lot of people out there are going to be like, man, you're condemning Western fitness, you're condemning martial arts, you're condemning bodybuilding. Yes, it's about self-worship. Okay, that's where it ultimately gets to. And pride is as idolatry. Okay, and idolatry is under the chief devil, the dragon. And martial arts, look at that. What do many martial arts schools showcase? Either a tiger or a dragon, depending on which country they come from. If they're Eastern or Asian martial arts, it's a dragon. And that dragon is the symbol of pride and idolatry and witchcraft and rebellion. All that fits under the dragon. Pride and idolatry, witchcraft and rebellion, and also stubbornness. Okay, fits under the chief dragon. And that's the things that King Saul was warned about by Samuel. He said pride is as the sin of idolatry, and stubbornness is as an iniquity, and pride is as the sin of idolatry, and stubbornness, or some translations say instead of stubbornness, they say rebellion. Okay, is as the sin of iniquity and witchcraft. Okay, and so that's what you got to realize. All these Asian martial arts showcase a celestial or imperial dragon. And if you realize, most dragons don't look like, I'm gonna say it like this: dragons, or aka dinosaurs, which is another talk. I know that's gonna be new to some of y'all. Don't look like that. That dragon is a type of dragon from the sea, or a celestial dragon that was in heaven that fell. Okay, that is the very image of the dragon itself. That if you look at a particular famous action cartoon, one of the greatest, what they say, the greatest action cartoons of all time, Dragon, Ballz. Okay, when they searching for these balls, and they finally gather all 7, and this enormous dragon pops up and grants people their wishes according to their desires. That is the chief devil. That is the chief devil in there himself. There's no random dragon. That is the devil. That is the one that people realize as the devil. Okay? So these martial arts, they showcase the dragon. So it doesn't matter if you don't bow to the instructor. You're already in a pagan religion. Martial arts is a religion. It takes over every aspect of a person's life. Their mind, their body, and their spirit. Okay? And you cannot fully serve the Most High and be a martial artist. And this is what I had to realize, because I've been doing this stuff most of my life. Okay? I've been exposed to martial arts the major portion of my life, over 20 years. Okay? And I've been actively participating in it and honing things for a significant portion of time. And I haven't told y'all everything, because it gets worse. Okay, it gets worse. Because once you start delving in martial arts, you want more. You want more. You want to be able to do more. You want to be stronger. You want to be faster. You want to be hit harder. You want to have faster reactions. And you want to be able to, master every area of combat. Then it gets beyond hand to hand, and you start getting into weapons, especially when you're dealing with stuff like ninjutsu and bushido, which is the samurai art. Okay. Uh, or when you're dealing with different types of kung fu, where you're dealing with broadswords and all the other types of swords, or the staff, the bow staff, the Joe staff, or then you get into Filipino eskrima, when you're dealing with stick fighting, which actually comes from the Egyptian stick fighting. Okay, so you start wanting more. You start wanting to get in weapons, and then after weapons, you start wanting to you want to start learning all aspects of warfare. You start wanting to learn how to make traps like they made in Vietnam. You start wanting to learn how to make certain type of improvised weaponry. You start wanting to learn how to do all that. And I'm telling you, all this stuff is wickedness. It draws you into wickedness. Okay? And so, it's a lot. And so, eventually, going back into school, I took that college course on Shaolin Kung Fu. Then I got into a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club and learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I started trying to learn Capoeira. Then I learned there were two types of Capoeira. There was Capoeira de Angola, which is the original Capoeira from Angola. And then it's Capoeira de Brazil, or Brazil, however you want to pronounce it. And which is the Capoeira that everybody's familiar with from Brazil, which is basically the watered down version. The actual Capoeira de Angola was basically, it was a martial arts that was based on low fighting, really unorthodox movements, trickery, quick movements, a lot of kicks, very few punches, but some grapples. But the hands were used with daggers. That's why they didn't have a lot of punches, because as they were spinning, they were cutting. And so, but when it came to Capoeira de Brazil, a lot of these people were taken on slave ships and brought over to Brazil, but they wanted to disguise their fighting so they could be able to do insurrections and stuff like that, and uprisings, or whatever other reasons they had. So they turned it into a dance and made it look more acrobatic, and gave it a lot of flipping and jumping and spinning and all that stuff that before it didn't have. Okay? And now I'm starting to get into African martial arts, okay? Because a lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of different martial arts in Africa. I just talked about one of the Egyptian styles that possibly made it to Philippines, which is called eskrima, okay? The stick fighting that was found in Egypt on the pyramid. On the hieroglyphics. And there's a hieroglyph of Egyptian martial arts that detailing many of the techniques that were used. Everything from stick fighting to hand-to-hand combat. I'm basically through strikes, okay? Strikes like punches and kicks, to grapples. And most martial arts are going to have that. They're going to have some kind of weaponry. They're going to have strikes and kicks. They're going to have grapples, okay? And so the Egyptian, there's a hieroglyph that details, or I don't like calling them hieroglyphs, and I repent for that because that means sacred carving, and there's nothing sacred about those carvings. Okay, so I just call them glyphs. The Egyptian glyphs. The Egyptian glyphs, they detail all of these different techniques, and I to a degree studied those. Okay, and then it got me into looking. Okay, what other because back then I was a Pan-Africanist. I was pro-black, so I was like, okay, what other types of African martial arts there are, so I can get into and hone myself from our own stuff and not other people's stuff. But that was my mistake. Okay, that was my mistake. My mistake was to think that this is our stuff. It's not our stuff. We're not Africans. We're Israelites who fled to Africa and were eventually taken over here. And we picked up the ways of the Canaanites. We picked up the ways of the Egyptians, which we were told to leave alone. And all the other peoples that are around us, Cushites and other Shemites like the Arabs, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the ancient Lebanese, which were known as the Phoenicians, and other Canaanites, and also the Arameans, and all the other people, the Idabeam, the Arabs, all the other people that were in the Middle East. Okay. And so, hold on, I think I got somebody over here being nosy. Okay. And so, just like I'm saying, so I start wanting to research these, and I that's how I got into capoeira. I learned about the Egyptian martial arts. I learned about the martial arts that were in different parts of West Africa. In West Africa, there's a martial arts as a sport, okay, which for some places of West Africa is like a national sport, and it's just like MMA or pancration, okay. And so what it involves is punches and kicks and grapples, okay. And there's a particular way it's done. It's fought by big guys, just like they're not as big as samurai, but I'm making a connection. Okay, these things are putting rings everywhere, and this is where we're going to start getting the Western martial arts, things that you don't realize are martial arts. These things are turned into sport. Sport comes from the Greek and Roman worship of their pagan fallen idols. All sports are pagan, wicked, and evil. We don't need sports. If you want to do some recreational, learn how to hunt, learn how to fish, learn the bow like Jacob taught us. Learn how to use a boat on water. Learn how to kindle, to make fire, and basically wildlife survival skills, wild edibles. All these things. Learn how to make things, how to craft things. Okay, all these things are things that you can do for fun, or for enjoyment, and to hone yourself and to get good at things. You want to get strong, you don't need to do Western fitness or martial arts, because the thing about Western fitness, and I'm going to warn a lot of you, is indecency and inappropriateness. Women and men alike are being inappropriate and indecent. You got to have on a muscle tee, all your chest got to be out, all your shirt, all your arms got to be out. You wearing jogging clothes or whatever, all your calves and thighs gonna be, and women alike, you wearing tight clothes, you in a gym. If you're a daughter of Zion, you need to cover your body properly. Nakedness for a man is from the knee to the hip, okay, or should I say from the knee to the waist, So a man should at least be covered from below his knees. His entire knees should be covered up to his navel. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, and I'm saying this because the priests were commanded to wear something called machnesim, which are trousers, linen trousers, so that when they walked up the altar, their nakedness was not seen. It was said that the nakedness was from the knee to the waist. So your garment, you should be covered from at least your waist to your knees. But you want to be a little more appropriate than that, because there's something called lust. You don't want to. You want to provoke somebody to sin, so you really should cover your whole body. Okay, keep your body covered. Okay, men, like if your calf and stuff showing, that's one thing. But you don't have to wear a long sleeve shirt. If you want to wear a short sleeve, you can, but at least cover your chest. Okay. Everybody don't need to be seeing all your chest and back. Women, it's a little bit more. Your nakedness should not be able to see none of your chest and none of your back. You should not be able to see your armpit. You should have women should always wear some sort of sleeve. Their armpits should not be seen. Their shoulders and stuff should not be seen to where they lift up their arm and their armpit hair could be seen, or if their bra can be seen, or their breast can be seen. Okay, women. If you're sitting in a chair with a garment, okay, if it's a skirt, if it's just to your knee, all you got to do is sit into your chair, and that rises up, and it's easy for a man to see things they should not see under your pants or your skirt. Okay, and you shouldn't be wearing pants. You should be wearing a skirt, or a dress, or some kind of kaftan or something nice like that. But that's another discussion for another time, because machnesim, or these trousers, come from. It's a man's garment. Now, a woman can wear an undergarment that's similar to under her skirt so that she's not seen, but the skirt should be a certain length. It should be at least, very least, underneath your calf. Because if it's any lower than that, if you sit down on the ground, or you bend over to get something, or you sit down on a certain way, your skirt will rise up and people will see. And there are men who are very skilled at trying to figure out and look at these things. Okay, and men talk about this stuff just like I know women talk. And so at this point, if you got children, I'm not trying to be inappropriate, and so I'm not going to say too much, because I understand that some people may watch with their children. I don't want to say too much. So I'm going to just leave it at that, okay? And I will try to be decent. If I have a video where I have to talk about personal, the deep matters like that, then I warn you, so your children can, you can be careful with your children that they don't watch certain videos, okay? That's just for the adults. Okay, and so I'm talking about these things because Western fitness promotes this stuff. Women showing their body, showing how fit they are, showing doing workouts and stuff in front of men, going to a gymnasium, which is a Greek place of worship, honing themselves for their idols, and working out in front of men where they gotta get down and work out their calf or they thigh and get down on a certain machine, or put their arms above their head and they're wearing these tight clothing or this gym clothing, and they're pulling down on this machine and all their breasts are out. Posing and making certain angles, it will create lust for the men that are there looking at the women, and for the men that the women that are there looking at the men. It will. Okay, you don't need to be going to no gym. You don't need to mess with that stuff. There are other ways to stay healthy. Okay, and just staying active, doing things that require you to be healthy, and you can do things to be strong. You don't need to do Western exercise. Okay, there are other ways to keep yourself physically fit. Okay. Just stay away from Greek and pagan worship, okay? And so, with all that said, I was talking about this West African martial art that it actually is one of their it's a West African martial art that is actually happens to be one of their national sports, okay? It's one of their national sports. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I move on, the ideal for a woman's length of skirt or dress should go down to her ankle. That way, a woman cannot be exposed. The ideal length for a shirt should go down to her thigh. Not her buttocks, but her thigh. Because if a woman bends down to get something, you don't want your shirt to rise up and expose yourself. You should not be lifting up your skirt or your pants or anything around people in public. You should keep yourself decent. Okay, I'm telling you this because if there's such a thing as provoking someone to sin, and you are responsible for exposing. Okay, and you got to be careful not to expose yourself. Now, if you don't have certain clothes, and just pray for the Most High to give you certain clothes. The Most High have mercy on you and forgiveness until you get it right. He understands your situation better than you, and He will help provide for you to help you get what you need to get. Okay. And so He'll have mercy and forgiveness on you till then. But you got to be careful not to provoke your brothers or cause your brothers to sin or cause them to be a stumbling block to them by your body. Same thing for you brothers to the sisters. Out there, want to show you, because you don't know, you got yourself, you just all out there. Y'all made man to be attracted to woman and vice versa. So you got your pecs all out there, you got your arms out there, and you coming around married women. And people married. And you're trying, and you could, you say, well, they should have strength. Well, something called biology. Okay? We all should have strength, yes. But at the same time, we should assist each other and not even having to go that far so that we don't have to work each other like that so that there's a temptation to sin. Okay? It's not a sin to be tempted. It is a sin to be a temptress or a tempter. Okay? But it's not a sin to be tempted. It is a sin to tempt. Why tempt somebody? It says, lead us not into temptation. Why would you lead your brother or your sister into temptation by not covering yourself? So Western fitness, and I'm talking about this, why does this have to do with martial arts? Well, this is not just about martial arts, it's also about Western fitness. Okay? And all these different health things dealing with the body. Okay? The Western way and Eastern ways of doing things, dealing with Eastern mysticism, because all these things are related. To be a martial artist, you got to be physically fit. You got to be strong. You got to be fast. You got to be fierce. You have to be quick. Good reaction. And so, as I was saying, this particular martial art in West Africa is basically their national sport. And what they do is they have two people go out and fight. They're kicking and punching. They're grappling each other just like MMA. And they got a stadium around them, sort of, like people like behind them watching in the crowd. Not a stadium, people watching the crowd. And they have, each one of them has a witch doctor behind them casting spells. Each one has a witch doctor casting spells. And they're fighting each other with spells. They call it J-U-J-U. So you look at these beans, they call J-U-J-U beans. You better be careful for them beans. Okay, it's wickedness. And they doing it, casting spells back and forth at each other, trying to win both the physical and the spiritual battle. And that was a principle many people knew in ancient times, is before you can win any spiritual battle, you must first, any physical battle, you must first win it spiritually. And they still understand that. So they got their witch doctors behind them doing that, but they're doing it in a wicked way. Now we do it in a righteous way with the Most High, getting ourselves right with the Most High through prayer, through fasting, through cleaning ourselves, through giving offering and tithe, interceding, by praising, by being grateful for the Most High, the things that's given, by being covered in the blood, by quoting scripture, by doing all these things. This is how we walk spiritual, by cleansing ourselves of all paganism, idolatry, and the accursed thing, which I'm trying to show you how to do right now. Okay? Because it's all Western fitness is related to pagan Greek worship. And it turns your body into an idol, because the ideal was the Greeks wanted their bodies to look like their fallen angel idols, who were made perfect and who were perfect in form. And so they were trying to hone their body like the Greek idols. If you go read books on fitness or on bodybuilding, they say the ideal was to hone their bodies like the Greek idols. Seriously, that's what it's all about. Get the body to look like a Greek idol. Your body, all you need to be is fit. You need to be strong and healthy. And actually, Western standards for obesity, Western standards for fitness don't fit everybody. They fit mostly Caucasian people. Because other groups of people are naturally smaller in size or naturally larger. We're naturally larger in size. We accumulate a little more fat than them, especially our women, and that is fine. Now, it's good to be fit too. It is good to be fit. Nothing wrong with being fit, but you don't want to have the Western ideal of fitness. Okay? You just want to be healthy. You want to be in shape. Okay? Now, it's good to take care of your body, and it's good if you have a spouse, look good for your spouse. But be careful. Be careful for Western fitness, idolizing your body, and all that stuff. Okay? Now I'm getting into, I've done a little bit of African martial arts. There are a few more. Different African martial arts. But now I'm getting into, I spoke of pancration, which is the Greek style of martial arts where I think some of Western wrestling and boxing are derived. And now I'm talking about boxing and wrestling. Both, I don't need to go deep into those. And I studied both boxing, and I did delve into wrestling a little bit. But when you study stuff like jiu-jitsu and Brazilian, Japanese jiu-jitsu, aikido, and all that other different stuff, Western wrestling don't really do much. Okay, that's more of a sport than something you actually fight. The idea is to get onto the top of somebody to where you have them pinned down for a certain amount of time. Okay, to where they can't get up, and you have them pinned down. But that's not what the real combat is actually about. And so wrestling, it don't even compare. But that's irrelevant. What the truth is that it all is sport. And sport in general, sport that these things were derived, they were in the inception, they were put forth to be sport for the purpose of sport. It's not like archery that some people count archery as a sport. Okay, archery is something that been existing. The Greeks just made it, and the Gentiles just made it sport for themselves. Okay, it's not something like, say, fishing. They made that sport. They began to turn everything into sport. Okay, there's some things that were made sport, and there's other things that they turn into sport that were not sport. Okay, like learning how to paddle a boat on water and get good at it. Okay. Now the bottom line is, like, I got into Brazilian, Japanese jiu-jitsu. Then I got back. I'm gonna start trying to finish this up. I start getting back into ninjutsu, and here's where it gets bad. Okay, I start diving back into ninjutsu, so I start reading all these different books. Talking to different people, disguising their voices over the phone, trying to, get into classes and learn more. And then I start studying all these different books, and numerous different books, okay? And if you have any books by Ha Long, stay away from them. Stay away. Don't buy none of that man's books. I started getting books that were banned, okay? And delving into some of that stuff. And all these things had witchcraft and paganism in them and idolatry, but my eyes were already blinded by martial arts, and I didn't see. I didn't open my eyes.